I want the smoke. This environment is the toughest, so bring your best in. Put your spirit to the test. You stepping into the ring with the scholar, with the no digits harder. I will make you holler, and the information flow with power. You wanted to peak, the elite, the undisputed. Now watch as your outdated theories get refuted. I'm posted in the den, let the world burn. Pressure in the room is finally my turn. They want the smoke, I'm the whole forest fire. Watch the oxygen vanish as the flames climb higher. My mind is the weapon, I'm no joke. I'm the baddest, I come for the smoke. No joke, I'm the baddest to ever breathe. I don't play house, I make them leave. Smoke session. Smoke, 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 smoke session. I want the smoke. Smoke, smoke, smoke session. Assassinate, you better warn them. Who want the smoke? Who wanna say that I'm not playing? Oh my God, Sinetta, stop playing with me. Now, Paul, you better tell him, you better tell her now, Paul. Stop playing with me.
Man, we got a good one today, man. We got Chuck Morgan, man, and Elder Yarah. They're going to get it in on a little smoke section, man. Let me repeat, this is not a debate. It's a conversation between two gentlemen that I think got high-level games. And I don't give that out too easy, man. I know one of these brothers for at least 15 years. And that's Chuck Morgan. And I knew Yarah for a while. I always listen to styles, how people present their information, how complete they is, what they do, how they do it, what angles they take, what expertise they use in their presentations, what type of sources do they use. I'm a hard critiquer. So this is going to be a great conversation between the two. We're talking about the Sumerians, man, getting some understanding back and forth with the brothers, man, and just see how it go. Yarah wanted to test the waters a little bit. I say, Yarah, Chuck Morgan is prolific in this particular subject, man. He do his things. Let me bring Chuck up here first. All right. Let me get Chuck up here first. All right. What's going on, Chuck, man? What it do, Chuck Morgan, man? You know, one of my favorite super pseudo killers right here, man.
Peace.
How you doing, brother?
What's going on now?
What you got? What you got cooking today? I know you got something cooking, man. It's gonna be a good conversation, man. How you doing?
Well, I'm looking forward to having the dialogue with the brother. I've been checking him out over the years. I respect him. He's sharp as a needle. Hey, it's going to be exciting, and whatever you're coming with, I'm with it. I'm with it 100% because this is this is a build. This is what do you call it? The smoke session.
Smoke session, man.
Yeah, we're gonna sit back and we just gonna exchange ideas and build a great outcome. And I think that the audience is going to benefit from that.
Yeah, this is a good one right here, man. This conversation is going to be a great conversation, man, talking about the Sumerians. There's a lot of bad and misinformation pushed out from the Hebrew community on it, pushed out from the pseudo community, man. A whole lot of stuff, man. I know you've been correcting that, man. Let me get Yarah up here. Let me introduce him, man. What's going on there, Yarah?
Hey, salute to you. West,
how you doing, brother?
To you, man. Appreciate you, man. I appreciate, man, more than you know, brother Chuck Morgan, man, is prolific, man, and not just Sumerian, but just an intellectual overall, man. He's an intellectual giant in our community, just like Ark West, man. And I really appreciate this brother taking his time to come and just, man, have a bill with me. Hey, I told Ark, hey, man, don't set me up for no kill shots, bro. I'm here. Just let me walk, man.
I had to warn you.
Just let me walk, man. So I always say, man, it's important that man, that anytime you're doing any type of serious work or research, man, that if you can get someone, man, who can give you a solid peer review of your work, and this peer review is not about whether or not they agree with you, right? You really want somebody to rip you, tear you apart. You know what I'm saying? And your peer review, right? So, I'm hoping that I'll be able to get some of that in my ideas. Like I said, I'm using this, man, as a part of my work um on this subject, man. So I really appreciate him, man. Like I've spoken to a seriologist and people who have some type of education on the topic. But I've witnessed there have been none as prolific as this brother on the subject. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've listened to him, and like I said, man, I've been able to just listen to him over the years. And I appreciate him from giving me an opportunity, man, to
All
chime
right.
in.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna get the opportunity to get your head chopped off messing around with Chuck. It's okay. You
This guy, you see
get
that
your
boy,
shot at it right now.
Don King types.
yeah.
Listen, so I'm not sure where y'all want to start the discussion at, where the friction is, and certain things. Where y'all think y'all might want to start off with, right? What? Kind of like what y'all thinking? Give y'all time to speak on it. What was you thinking, Yarah, since you stepped out there and wanted to see the man in this conversation? What's
Yeah,
your
no doubt. Hey, no doubt. My running ideas and premises, hypotheses that the further you go back in ancient history,
Mhm.
that most of the prolific cultures, Sumeria being one of them, the people of Sumer being one of those prolific cultures, civilizations to exist, known to mankind,
Mhm.
that they are quote unquote black people. And so when I say black people, I'm not talking about in
Ooh,
the
I see
aspect.
it. I see
I'm
it.
not talking about in the aspect of modern day black people.
Ooh.
We have not reached that level of wisdom and knowledge and understanding that those ancient people had as a modern day black people. I don't think we've even reached that. We've not even
Guess what,
scratched
Yarah?
the surface.
Guess what, Yarah?
Yes,
I
sir.
see where we can start this conversation off. I see it already, Chuck. So let's start off with. I heard it. That's all I need to hear. But I heard it. So I'm gonna let Yarah go first. I heard you claim that the Sumerians are black people. So based off of your study, based off your evidence, I'm gonna let you go kicking in. How much time you think you need to kind of make your point on that?
Like I said, man, I just want to go through a little bit of a little bit of the premise um,
How
of
much
what
time
I
you think?
have.
What you think?
Give me 5 minutes, man. I don't want
I'm
to
gonna give
hog
you
the show
five.
because
You
it's
gonna
so
let you
much
hold? No,
information.
we can take five right there,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Just say
And
five
then we
minutes.
get back. All right. So
Yeah.
listen, I'm gonna step out the way, right? And be fair to each other time. A good healthy 5 minutes. I ain't gonna hold you super strict, but yeah, I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm gonna sit back.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sit back.
I'll be closing it out, man. I'll be
Yeah, that's
closing
gonna be
it out.
boy. Let me see this. I know the crowd in there talking about, yeah, the Sumerians is black. Yeah, yeah. Okay, the black haired ones. Let's go. Matter of fact, before we get started, right? I remember this quote right here. Look, this is funny. I think it was in his book right here. I think it was in Chancellor Williams' book, right? This what Chancellor Williams said. Here we go. Look, watch this. How fitting. Watch this right here. Chancellor Williams, Destruction of Black Civilization. This is what
Uh-huh.
he said. He said, what became of the black people of Sumer? He said, the traveler asked the old man, for ancient records show that the people of Sumer were black. What happened to them? Ah, the old man sighed. They lost their history, so they died. And that's when I first heard the Sumerians was black. So you got the elder on your side, right? Well, we're gonna find out if the elder was wild with it or was he exact with it. So go ahead there, yo. I got you, Michelle. Let me put your presentation up here, bro. And we right going in it. Let's
Yeah, yeah,
clock
yep.
for you. Let me set the clock for you to keep it loosely. Just
Okay.
loosely. All right, loosely for
Yeah,
you.
I'll be paying attention too because I really want to hear more from Chuck, brother Morgan. So I'm gonna keep it short and
That's a
to the
sneak.
point. And he can rip me up as we go along, man.
That's a
I
sneaky.
appreciate you, man. No,
Yeah, trying to ease his way out the smoke. Nah, you in the smoke now. Nah.
Hey
All
man,
right,
what you talking about, man? It's all good, man.
all right,
Again,
here we go. Let me
shout
click
out.
it.
Yep, yep. Again, shout out to shout out to Sonetta man and the HOK man. I appreciate you, man, for allowing us this time. Sonetta man, great show, man. Great debate yesterday, man, with brothers Jabari and Reggie. Sonetta's gonna be having that. He's gonna be replaying it. I think come next Saturday. $25 if you didn't get a chance to see it yesterday. So y'all make sure y'all haven't seen it, so y'all can hit the panel and get on the conversation and actually talk about it, right? Again, blacks in antiquity. This term here, King Gear, right? Or the Sumerians, right? This is a term that was used for Sumer, I believe. Chuck Morgan can correct me on that as well because I'm not proficient in the language at all, so I'm strictly a student on that. But
Yes.
this is volume two. I appreciate it. Volume two, the Black Sumerians. I have value one, and it starts with the Hittites. But I haven't shown that, but I'm starting here now because I'm building this work. So let me get into it. In order to set the parameters for this discussion, we must first define black or blackness, right? So this is what I was talking about um, as viewed in antiquity. Also, we must establish how CRT, and CRT is the critical race theory, right? And that's kind of what I'm basing my premise on a little bit in this work, and how it intersects with the misidentification of black civilization in Africa and the ancient Near East by white supremacy and the disregard of Afrocentric scholarship. Lastly, a comparative display of physiognomy. I can never say that name. Physiognomy. Physiognomy. That's how you the study of how a person looks, their features, their attributes, their different things like that, their phenotypes, as it identifies black or blackness in antiquity. Right. This is just a brief quote from Malcolm X. Malcolm X, Afro history, Afro American in history, January 24, 1925, and he talks about, um, and he just mentions in his speech during that time, at least 5,000 years ago, they had a black civilization in the Middle East called the Sumerians, and now when they show you pictures of the Sumerians, they try and make you think that they were white people. But if you go and read some of the ancient manuscripts or even read between the lines of some of the current writers, you'll find that the Sumerian civilization was a very dark skinned civilization and it existed prior even to the existence of the Babylonian Empire. Right in the same area where we find Iraq and the Tigris rivers there, it was a black skinned people who lived there who had a high state of culture way back then. Uh, and I'm going to talk about again evidencing critical race theory in the ancient world. Now, Tristan Samuels, if anyone isn't familiar with him, he's an African American professor of Black culture in antiquity. And he writes in a book that he talks about Herodotus and the Black body, right? A critical race theory analysis. The Journal of Black Studies, volume 46, number 7. These pages 723 to 741, 2015. In this article, he talks about confirms the existence of blackness in ancient Egypt and reorients our understanding of the origins of anti-blackness in Western thought. In examining the writings of Herodotus, and this is important why I'm bringing up this article as he talks about Herodotus, he says Western scholars of the late 20th century actively engaged in the denial of ancient Egypt's blackness by acknowledging the so-called black features of the Egyptians like hair texture or skin tone described in ancient Greek writing, while also maintaining that the ancient Egyptians could have been anything but black. What does Egypt and how they're depicted have to do with the Sumerians? We're going to get there. Then he goes on to say this erasure is the product of a white supremacist lens of Greco-Roman studies that equates Negro with inferiority and ugliness. But according to Samuels, this lens started before 20th century academia, even before the transatlantic slave trade, drawing on Herodotus, uh, 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 chapter 3, book 3, section 101. He argues that the Greek historian othered the black body, promoting ideas of hypersexuality, savagery, and cowardice. Here, Samuels illustrates both the prevalence of blackness in the classical sphere and argues for the antiquity of anti-black racial prejudice in Western thought. Right. Um, Let me go now. I don't want to go through all of this for the sake of time. Just let me get to it here. This is a sister. She also talks about critical race theory in ancient times. And then I want to start getting into some of the people, some of the older Assyriologists, right? George Smith, right? Smith wrote about 8 important works, including linguistic studies, historical works, and translations of major Mesopotamian literary texts. They include the history of Ashurbanipal, the Assyrian discoveries and encounter explorations and discoveries in the site of Nineveh, the Chaldean account, Sennacherib, translated from the cuneiform inscriptions, and the history of Babylonia. These people are important to the beginning of the establishment of what people started to understand and encapsulate, I would say, in almost a white racial overtone of what they were actually finding back then, right? Uh, so let me go down here. This is a picture of Drusilla Dungy Hill. A lot of her work is not used um, today simply because of the times I believe that she lived in. But you see, these are a lot of the Afrocentric scholars. Drusilla Dungy Houston, Renoka Rashidi, Ivan Van Sertima, Frank Snowden, Chancellor Williams. We just saw Ark show his book, Shake and the Joke, and Tanishi Paul Coates, that seek to preserve the greatness of Blackness in its place in human history. So this is kind of the leading conversation. This is Frank Snowden here. He talks about the erasure or the prejudice that we see in regards to Blackness spoken about in antiquity when it comes to racism and white supremacy in the critical race theory. So let me go through some of this, man. I don't want to get here's Tristan Samuels as well. I just mentioned him earlier. Let me get down here a little bit. And then I have some articles that talk about the hidden racism and linguistics coming from those early periods of time uh, when the discoveries of early Mesopotamian culture was being excavated. So, that's 5 minutes, man. I just want to start my premise off there a little bit.
All right. Okay. All right. Let me stop that clock right there. That was about close to 7 minutes. That was good. That was fair. And hold on. Let me get that off here. Hold on one quick. Let me get this back up here.
Yeah, definitely stop me at the time, man. I missed it, man.
No, no, no. I ain't want to break your flow. You was good. You was good. I'll just give Chuck the same amount of time. Give him that same 7 minutes. That was good, man. All right. That was a nice opening right there. We got a basic understanding of that. Okay, man. Come on, Chuck. What say you, man? Let me go in and we set the
Well,
joint.
well, I don't really have too much of a disagreement with much of what he's shown.
Mhm.
Um, uh, and I want to make sure that I'm understood that I'm not coming off in any disparaging way or whatsoever. But what you did present is good information, but ma- a majority of it, from what I've seen, doesn't really address, at least from the first opening,
Right.
doesn't address the Sumerians specifically with regards to race, if you will.
Correct.
Um, uh, I mean, if you can explain how the article on Herodotus and the Egyptians demonstrates the ancestry or identity of the Sumerians,
Hmm.
you know.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. So my reason for doing that was to sort of build up my premise is that even during the time of Herodotus, and Herodotus does make some affiliations to the people of Babylon and Sumerians in regards to um, uh, their blackness, right? So I just wanted to build up the premise to a degree that we know that in antiquity there existed sort of this idea. We use the modern term critical race theory, but this idea of blackness and how it was perceived even in antiquity as less than, right? Or there was a suppression of even during the time of Herodotus. So this is not something that's a modern take, but this is something that we can actually go back and read and dealing with other ancient cultures, right? that simply say that simply we can show that these things were being dealt with in a particular way, that some prejudice did exist, right? I really won't necessarily must say racism and white supremacy in the terms when it comes to Herodotus, because that did not exist, because they didn't look at it in a racialized way, but they did see a difference in the physiognomy, and I brought it up earlier, in how they not at times even feared the blackness or the dark melanated skin tone a lot of these cultures that they were experiencing. Um, and so that was the reason for my build up with that, starting with that to sort of help prop up that premise a little bit.
Okay. Okay. So, so I absolutely recognize that in the 19th, at least in the 19th century and the 20th century, Assyriology developed during a period when racial typologies and scientific racism was common at that time. Scholars sometimes try to classify the Sumerians into a racial category: Aryan, Semitic, Caucasian, Armenioid, or otherwise using craniometry and other methods on that, methodologies that we don't even use anymore, at least as far as that's determined. Professor Paul Collins himself discussed that history, and I had watched the lecture, and he was explaining how what they were doing at that time today sounds like complete nonsense, but back then that was considered cutting edge science. And Jean Evans, who's an archaeologist, she likewise explained that the metric data for those cranial studies have since been discarded. And believe it or not, people have used that as a determining factor as to who or what the Sumerians were. Case in point, during the time that Delavate, I can't remember his name, in 1625, I think it was, when they came across cuneiform tablets. As that curiosity built over the years, when Assyriologists, or Orientalists, as they used to call them back then, were seeking to decipher these wedge-shaped writings on these tablets that they find in Nineveh or in places like that, as time progressed, they needed to find out, okay, we got the language, that this is clearly a language, so we need to know who were the people. And so when, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. They discovered that they found various in doing excavation, they found various what do you call them, statues. They found various statues, and in that even those statues had cuneiform writing on them. But the problem that they discovered is that, wow, and so far what they had discovered, they had no heads.
Correct.
All right. And so the Louvre Museum had already put the word out, because they were dealing with it specifically, at least from the French perspective, that they wanted to do a number of digs in southern Mesopotamia to try to locate at least some of the skulls. And over time, they did actually find skulls, but they also found some skulls attached to bodies.
Yes.
The conclusion was, and this is how we got into why Paul Collins was so as an archaeologist, I made a point of saying that back then it was considered cutting edge science, but today it's ridiculous, because they would look at, say, some of the earlier discoveries were the heads of Gudea, because Gudea of Lagash was he put out a heavy campaign to, as part of that what they call Renaissance period, or some people call it, when after the Akkadians and the Gutian had been removed,
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, but by the time when they had gotten removed, I think it was Urnammu, they had they wanted to to bring back Sumerian culture writing on a grand scale. And those succeeding kings in various city states had put out a massive campaign to do so. So Gudea, during his period, made it really clear that he wanted to have his image and family images in these statues. So what they did was decide that, oh, these discoveries of these Sumerian heads, they were clean shaven.
Yes.
They were, and they were bald, and they had no beards. The
Yes.
issue was there must have been a conflict, because when they discovered a mask that they presumed to be that of Shahrukh, which we know as Sargon,
Sargon.
he was fully bearded.
Yes.
And as they knew how the wars that took place when Sargon of Akkad had conquered Sumer, those various city states, these people were bearded. So the implication was that, well, these bearded people, who were the Semitic speaking peoples, conquered these peoples known as Sangiga, or the population that they had. Once they were able to conquer them, they saw that it was a rivalry based on the Semitic people taking over these non-Semitic peoples. They didn't determine them by being black people or anything like that. In fact, what they tried to do was they wanted to say, well, they must have migrated from some other place, because the way that they depicted themselves in their own iconography didn't necessarily resemble the Arab population in those areas. So in doing that, they came up to the conclusion that Sumerian as a language, Imigir, is agglutinative, meaning that it is focused primarily on suffixes and prefixes. And as that agglutination, you had European languages like Altic, Uralic, Turkic. These languages also utilize the agglutination process. And so they wanted to link them in with those people. You see? But as this is all in the early stages of Assyriology, that has been long abandoned as it pertains to listing people centered exclusively on agglutinations. As time progressed, they made more discoveries and come to find that you had a number of early Sumerian kings that were fully bearded.
Correct.
In fact, you can go all the way back as far as the Ubaid periods, and you can see they were all bearded. Very few of them that you find to different periods as they moved into places like Uruk, and by the time the Sumerians began, I guess, took over that region, these people were already bearded, and this is well documented. So they had to change that perception, because again, that was the old way of thinking, because none of the discoveries, there have been hundreds of thousands of cuneiform tablets, not necessarily in Neo-Assyrian, Akkadian, what do you call it, Amorite or anything like that, Hittite, but exclusively in Imigir, in Sumerian cuneiform, because many people utilize the cuneiform writing system, but Sumerian was specific. Akkadians, when you know how Akkadians took over Sumer, and then they made Akkadian the official language. Correct. However, they kept the cuneiform writing system as being the prestigious system at that time. So the language didn't necessarily die out until we get into the latter part of Sumerian existence, which was around what they call the Earth 3
Earth 3
period, the Earth 3 period. Yeah. So yeah, I don't necessarily have any problems with what you presented. It's pretty solid as far as I'm concerned. But I think that well, I don't know. I haven't even seen the majority of it, but just from where we're coming, um, it doesn't really address the Sumerians directly with regards to that.
Right.
And that's where I was coming from on that.
All
Yeah.
right, that's a soft stop right there. Okay, so you heard his response to that. So what do you think about that? I know you talked. How does that fit into what you were saying, Yara? What you think? Does that help you maybe change your position slightly, or you just thinking?
No, I mean it agrees with a majority of my premise. And what we're saying, because I think we talked briefly for a moment, even before we got on, that I think a lot of times, especially what's shown in this community, when people are even talking about this, they say, "Oh, we're not the Sumerians, or we couldn't be the Sumerians, or they couldn't have been a dark melanated people." Because look, uh, 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 um, look at these images of these of what is called or what is labeled as ancient Sumerians.
Mhm.
And what we understand now is that a lot of that was images, just as Brother Morgan talked about. These images were found, the oldest images of the Sumerians were found without heads, they were missing limbs, different things like that. And so in these museums, as we know, a lot of times what they do is that they tend to try to reconstruct what they see, right? And this was even done at certain periods at that time when you had people who would come in and enculturate the Sumerians, from like we talked about the Gutians. I think that's my position as well, that the Gutians were one of these, of Gudea was one of these cultures that came in to acculturate and take on the ancient Sumerians' way of life to a degree. Um, and um, and so just like any other culture do, when you start to create um, gods or deities or different things like that, you create them in your own image, right? And so their priesthoods began to reflect this. Yes, yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a slight correction on something,
Hmm.
and I don't want the audience to walk away thinking that when you mentioned the Gutians,
Hmm.
I don't want anyone to misunderstand that Gutian or Guti were not were not a part of Gudea,
Okay.
because Gudea during that period, that was part of that massive building campaign that was going on. By the time now, the Gutians were primarily occupying the northern part of Mesopotamia.
Hmm.
In fact, there's very little information regarding the Gutians in places like Lagash,
Hmm.
which was the homeland of Gudea, as his god being in that region in Gersu.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
just wanted to make that point, because that's critical. Because some people, I've heard it before, people will say
Yeah.
Gutians, and then somehow uh, Gudea got linked in with that. Matter of fact, I think Clyde Winters
Yeah.
has
He
done that,
held that.
has made that, he made that
Yeah.
mistake. He
Yeah.
made that
Clyde.
mistake.
Yeah. Clyde Winters talks about that that they came down out of those mountain regions, right? The Zagros
The
mountain
Zagros
regions,
Mountains. Yep. Yep.
Zagros mountain regions, that they came down and they held that hegemony over Mesopotamia after the Akkadian Empire fell, right? And then Gudea um, kept control of Lagash's uh, sovereignty, their wealth, the military fortifications, their trade routes, and then you get to that point where you start to talk about that massive temple building projects that we
That was
see.
there. That was up in Ur, and that was doing. I think
Hmm.
that was under Ornamu
Hmm. Hmm.
during that Ur 3 period of because if you even look at the Sumerian king list, you won't find Gudea mentioned.
No, you don't find Gudea mentioned in that king's list.
But
Um, though Gudea cylinders they give us a little bit of critical insight, not much, because I agree with you. We don't have much on them.
Actually, in the Sumerian text, is called the inscription called uh, the rulers of Lagash. It's an entire
Mm-hmm.
king's list of the rulers of Lagash,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where,
Mm-hmm.
because you got to understand that during that time, uh, Lagash was at war with Or.
Mm-hmm.
And they're certainly not going to put certain
Mm-hmm.
kings there because they weren't a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you
Mm-hmm.
will find certain Gudaian, not Gudaian, I'm sorry. See, you'll find the Guti
Guti.
mentioned. Yeah, you'll
Mm-hmm.
find the Guti mentioned in the Sumerian king list. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I forget the name. Tiragan was the last known ruler of the Gutians, and he was humiliated and banished, and then ultimately unalived. And that was when I think his name was Ugo Hagal, Utu Hagal, who was the military commander and king, who ultimately removed the Gutians, because the Gutians had always been a pest to the Sumerians, and they would do these drive-by robbing and attacking and robbing, pillaging, and trade routes and the likes.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time that they gained enough power, they took on the Akkadian military and ultimately won.
Mm-hmm.
But from what the Assyriologists, is the way it is today, that their reach didn't extend as far south as Lagash,
Okay.
which is why you don't find much of any
Mm-hmm.
information on the Gutians and Gudea during his reign.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And and would you use I think we're around what 2200 2000
Yeah,
BCE, somewhere
yeah,
around that time.
yeah.
So I think that's where they have the tablet of uh Luganau
You said
Tatium.
Lugal Zagazi.
Lugal Sagazi. Yes,
Yeah,
you'll see that tablet there
yeah.
that talks about some of what you just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
We can read
Mm-hmm.
about that. They have that
Matter
in
of
the
fact,
Louvre, right?
yes, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that is in the Louvre Museum, it's in
Mm-hmm.
British Museum, and you'll even have it in the New York's Metropolitan Museum, where they have excerpts that talks about it as well.
Mm-hmm.
That what's interesting about Lugal Zagazi is when Sharukin had ultimately defeated. He was. I mean, they even have the illustrations of that. If you look at the Steel of the Vultures, I think that's the one where you have um, a king oh, you know what, let me pause, because I'm gonna try to pull that up, and I don't want to
Okay.
just talk about it. I want to be able to show
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no doubt. Because where would we put, as far as one of the Gutian rulers? Where would we put
Say again.
Siam, or
What is
Siam? The
what
king
is
of the Gutians. He was the king of the Gutians.
Okay, as far as, and then I have a list of them, so
Okay.
let me try to pull these
Yeah,
guys
because I
up.
know he would be around somewhere up in that time period. But yeah, I definitely love to see what you have right now.
So real quick. So how does this fit into the? I want to steer the conversation back to them being. I would have to say you say black. So when you mean black, do you mean African? You're basically trying to say the African when you're saying
I,
they
I'm
black.
I'm saying um
Just say it, man.
I'm not saying African, but I'm saying they're I'm saying uh, more so
Yeah, say it.
Afro-Asiatic, right? If I can say that, which might be a failure, but
Yeah.
that's what I
Yeah.
have, because we don't really know their origin. So it's really hard to really say that, because that places them in a certain geographic area and land when you start to say, Afro-Asiatic. But
Mm-hmm.
uh
What is okay? Go ahead.
no,
Because
because yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, because I'm trying to process. I'm
Question,
trying.
Chuck. Question, Chuck. But I thought it was kind of like a Asiatic group that kind of took over the Sumerians or something like that. Or am I? What do they call the names? Because the names start to change on kings on the kings list. What was it? Am I correct in that?
That took over the Sumerians.
Yeah. What group came in and what are they called? The daggone Amorites? Is it Amorites? Am I
Oh,
mixed up?
okay, the Amorites are Mutu. They listen during that period when the drought was starting to occur. I mean, by that time, what is his name? Ida Hag. I can't remember the name. I'm gonna try to pull it up. But the Sumerians had already been dying off because of famine,
Hmm.
because of the severe drought that was taking place in the area at that time. And this just opened the door for the Gutians to regroup. This opened the door for the Amartu, who had constantly been a pest as well, because the Sumerians were being hit from multiple fronts.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as well as Alam, that group of people also was responsible because they were at war with various Sumerian city states. So,
Yes.
yeah, towards the end, yeah, they were the language died, but the people didn't. So eventually, they just blended in, even though the text called uh, Lament of Ur,
Mm.
the Lament of Ur, you can pull it up. It
Mm-hmm.
talks about the destruction of ancient Sumer, how the
Mm-hmm.
kings died off, the peoples were unalived, and
Yeah.
then others were taken into other lands. This is well documented in the Lament of Ur when it
Mm-hmm.
talks about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now that's is with regards to um, when the what we know as the Sumerian civilization ultimately dying out as a people, but they just mixed in, blended in, and this gave rise to what we know as the Babylonian culture.
Yes. Yeah.
And then as time progressed, of course, you know the Neo-Assyrians who were not Sumerian, they eventually came in, conquered, and then they wrote a whole new um, uh, a whole new concept about Mesopotamia. In fact, because they were so influential, the majority of a lot of the images we see when
Right.
people post videos and TikTok
Right.
and
Exactly.
Instagram, and they're always showing depictions of what they say are Sumerians, they're actually looking at Neo-Assyrians.
They're looking at Neo-Assyrians. Correct. They're
Yes,
not. They're
and
not even looking at. And you
and
get that
brother
so much.
and brother Yarah, let me find. Did you know? All right, now I'm gonna pull this up because I did a show on
Hmm.
the Dagger Squads a few years back with Garfield,
Okay.
and uh, because Professor Samuel Kramer
Mm.
was the leading authority on Sumerian language decipherment, or not even decipherment, just translation of
Hmm.
various texts and the history. And I saw how Clyde Winters and a couple other people fell in line with him. I think even Dr. Ranoko Rashidi had used
Yes.
something that Samuel Kramer said, which
Yes.
when he made reference to the Neo Assyrians or what they had done, and this is going to probably require a whole presentation again,
Hmm. Hmm.
where they identified the people known as Malucha
Yes.
and identified them as the black men of Malucha. And because of that, they tried to link that in, and because Malucha, Dillman, and uh, I can't remember what the I can't. Matter of fact, give me 1 second. Give me one
Yeah.
second. 1 second.
Yep.
So I can just pull it up the names. Yeah. So you had Dillman, Makan, and Malucha,
Hmm.
and so um, what Samuel Kramer had pointed out, if I can pull up his, yeah, he had literally stated that, uh, where is it? Let me pull it up. I'm sorry. Yeah, he was had literally had. Now this was a debate that ensued between he and another Assyriologist, where in a kind of a subtle way, uh, Samuel Kramer backed down or backed out and kind of changed his position by
Hmm.
visiting the Indus Valley, which is a whole nother story. As it
Yeah,
pertains to the same story.
I've seen a lot of that, you know.
Yes. And what he was pointing out is he referred to, like, when in the curse of Agade, when it talks about the Meluchans, the men of the Black Mountains, and how they brought exotic wares to the queen of Agade. They took that, and because it was the Black Mountains, they identified it and said there must have been the Black people. And that was where Samuel Kramer came in his book, The Sumerians. Let me see if I can find that quote.
Yeah, Chuck, you know, I meant to say the Acadians too. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, the Acadians,
Acadians,
they
not
came in.
right. But
They did the most damage. They did.
So, but,
I wouldn't even necessarily. I wouldn't even say it's necessarily damage on that end, because they did preserve Sumerian language and literature.
Right, correct.
You know, because they had scribal schools that they had established, where we are able to at least get an understanding of Sumerian literature by way of the textual sources, not on how they pronounce words, because we don't know what Sumerian sounded like.
Correct.
All Assyriology teachers, any class you take on the basic level of Sumerian language or grammar, in particular grammar, they let you know ahead of time. We do not know what the Sumerian language sounds like.
Right.
We have to. We're coming from the lens of the Akkadian scribes and these what are known as bilingual dictionaries that they had already established. Let me try to share my screen because I want to be able to share this with the audience.
So they like Western Asian. Acadians would be the kind of like Western Asian sort of. Okay.
Western Semitic.
Western Semitic, Western Asia, Western Asia. So your point is that that's what you call them Black?
No, we do have some Amorites that are Western Semitic that I would
really
describe that way. But
when are you doing that?
When it comes to
make the Hebrews Black, you gonna ease it into that kind of?
No, I don't really have to do that because they weren't they weren't a monolithic. There wasn't a monolithic phenotype to really call them Black.
I see the location with the Hebrews would tend to have brown skin though. That's all.
Yeah, they would.
Based off the locale.
Yeah, based off the locale. Yeah, based off the
protection.
Locale. Yeah,
so let me jump to before you share your screen. Any questions y'all got gonna have to come through the super chat, man. We got to keep supporting these channels, man. Any question you got needs to come through the super chat. I'm gonna let Chuck do his thing. Wait till a couple super chats come through, then I'll read it. You ready to share your screen, Chuck?
Oh yeah, I thought I was already sharing it.
You ain't sharing. Hold on, I got you. No, that's Yarah. Hold on, I got you. Yeah, I got you. Hold on, let me share it up. My fault.
Because I see it. You didn't have it up? Okay, cool.
I have it up.
All right, cool.
Oh, let me get this right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was looking good.
You there?
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to show this where it has syllabic glosses. And the syllabic glosses are short phonetic notes taken or added to cuneiform signs to show how a word was likely pronounced or understood. So if you look, you'll see how and these are in the thousands that were excavated, and this is how we were able to get an idea or working knowledge of Sumerian grammar. So you had the Sumerian term that's here. You had the cuneiform sign in the sign list here. Then you had the name of those signs here, and then you had the Akkadian translation of it. So if I move this, you can wait a minute. Let me see. If I move there, you can see how that works. And that was the point I was making with regards to that. So like if you look at the word gi, which is usually used for Black, and how the Akkadians would use it, identifying it with Salmu. You'll have the Gi'ig gloss, the sign form, which looks like a little, what you can look at it right here. You have the name, the actual name, Gi'ig Kigu, and then you have the Akkadi and Samu, and then how we break it down in English as something as black. You see? So so because we don't have any native Sumerian speakers, we have to rely on how the Akkadians laid that out. And it's and that's where it becomes difficult at times, because Akkadian is not in any way related to Imyigir or Sumerian.
Right. Because it's an isolate. Yeah, it's an isolate.
Yes. Yeah, so, and that's where sometimes when we take people there, they get kind of lost. Or saying if we're using the Akkadians, then how do we know that is it? That's the point I'm making. We don't know what it sounds like.
Right.
And they're being upfront by letting you know that no, we don't know what it sounds like. So when people say, well, you based on the comparative method and then the comparatives in the sound laws on this, there's no sound because we don't know what it sounds like. Correct. So we have to base it. So what we're using the grammar and the literature and how and the conventions, the scholarly conventions that we have on how we may, like if I were to pronounce Malucha. If you know how, like I use a kha, like in Arabic, kha. So they have this little character underneath the two H's in transliteration. So that lets you know that it's making, they'll tell you that it's making this sound. Not that we know it for sure, but the scholarly convention says Malucha. So whenever you see it, you'll know what that's basically saying.
Right. Yeah. And we'll get that with a lot of, glottal, language. You'll get that. You'll get that.
So we all right. So we transition to something else. So you off the black thing? So you off?
I'm ready to transition to something else. I want to show us.
I want to make sure we clear it up for the audience, though. So where do we land on this?
Yeah, I mean, we really talked about the Sumerian language. We don't really understand. We really don't know what it sounds like. The actual Sumerian language. It's the Sumerian
as far as vocalizing
it, yes.
Yeah, on that end. But when it comes down to reading text, we're pretty spot on because of the decades and centuries of trial and error, cross-referencing older inscriptions with all the newer that are being constantly discovered. And you even have databases dedicated. You can go to the EPSD, the Electronic Pennsylvania Sumerian Dictionary. That will give you the best. That's one of the cutting edge areas of Sumerian grammar that you could use to help you in this regard, as well as the electronic text corpus of Sumerian literature, where you have thousands of Sumerian inscriptions, full inscriptions that have been translated. And for a Sumerian grammar student, even us, when we do these classes, we'll constantly rely on the electronic text corpus of Sumerian literature, and then we'll take the cited inscription and then give us a week to do our translations of it based on what we know with the grammar. So the process, the scholarly works are out there. So there's no there should be no real ambiguity on what an inscription says. The only issue in Assyriology or Sumerology at this point is we just don't have a working knowledge of full pronunciation. We have some, because these are in the bilingual dictionaries. They're explained because there are many. I'll just give you one example, but to be able to verify, that's not necessarily something that we have complete at this time.
All right, let me put the screen up here. So, all right, like I said before, so the issue of them being black, that's a nay. Is that innate for you, Yara? Or you still trying to push that because you kind of slipped to the Asiatic and you were slipping?
Let me
Well,
ask. All right, yeah, all right. Let me before you answer. I want to ask you this myself
mm-hmm,
because this ties in with that because my premise, or if you will, my
mm-hmm,
position is if we take the term black
mm-hmm,
as in the modern sense of black people,
mm-hmm.
uh, um, my position is that we're not talking about the same thing.
No, we're not.
Right.
We're not. We're not. I agree with that. We're not.
When
We're not
people
talking about the same
use okay, when people use, or as I've seen in so many videos that I've attacked or critiqued, when the Sumerians identified themselves in the in the third dynasty period,
thing.
not in the earlier periods, because they identified themselves in another word that they use.
Mm-hmm.
But they under Akkadian rule, they use what the Akkadians later identified them as, which was the Khadi,
Yeah.
which is the same word that even Samuel Kramer had pointed out in his book The Sumerians, which was Namlulu. And Namlulu was just like you would find with many indigenous peoples, they identified themselves as the people,
The people.
or we are people. Because you got to understand, this is just a new period in writing. They're slowly evolving the writing system. So how
Yes.
they identified themselves is that they are the people or the folks. Humanity is the general accepted terminology that's used in Assyriology.
Yes. And I
But
agree. They didn't think of the terms in categorizing, classification of race as we do today. So we can't make that argument that, using that modern classification because it would not have existed, even in their thinking of how they would have seen themselves.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So yeah, definitely agree with that.
All right. Seem like we murky. I don't like murky. I don't
Yeah.
like murky.
Yeah.
If
We're
somebody
gonna
gonna
we're
take
gonna
the murky. I don't like the murky. I don't
yeah,
like
we're
the
gonna
murky. I
yeah,
don't
we're
like
gonna get
the
that.
murky.
So if I, if I may, if Chuck doesn't have anything else on that end,
Yeah, we can move it. We can get
yeah,
it.
okay. If you can see my screen,
I got you.
there's genetic study that I want to talk about and bring out a little bit.
All
Um,
right. I
and
got you.
yep, and this is I think it was in 2021 study. And it
My
talks
fault, Chuck.
about ancient DNA
All
shows
right.
genetic link between Mesopotamia and Egypt, right? Um, and what we have here is a burial pot, right? Basically, right? Um, this is how in ancient Kemet, in certain area, in a certain time period, they would place a body, right, of the deceased in this, and sort of like in this enclosure, in this large pot right here. So there would be a body inside of here, right, and they would place some effects of that person in there with them as well. So in this particular study here, um, if y'all can see it clearly on the screen,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
It just talks about the finding is highly significant because it is the first direct evidence of what has been hinted at in prior work, said Daniel Antone, curator in Egypt and Sudan at the British Museum. Earlier archaeological evidence has shown trade links between Egypt and Mesopotamia, as well as similarities in pottery making techniques and pictorial writing systems. While resemblance in dental structure suggested possible ancestral links, the new study clarifies the genetic ties. So it says the skeleton found in an Egyptian tomb complex at the archaeological site of Nuwarat inside a chamber carved out from a rocky hillside. And let me go to the next.
Yeah, that's a Neurock study. That's the Egyptian study, Neurock study. That's what they
Yep,
call
yep,
that.
yep, yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what they sort of find here is that there is a genetic study here that sort of links this man. This is a man about 60 years of age, and I'll take y'all to it so y'all can look at it. It says this
Mm-hmm.
is a time that centralized power allowed the formation of ancient Egyptian as we know it, says co-author Louis Gerner Flink, paleogeneticist at the University of Aberdeen. At approximately the same time, Sumerian city-states took root in Mesopotamia, and cuneiform emerged as a writing system, right?
Mhm.
And so what they show here, they show the area here, right?
Mhm.
Right, and then they show here on the timeline where they would have placed it. So this would have been roughly around 3000 BCE, right? They start right here at 3150
Old
BCE.
Kingdom. Old Kingdom.
Old Kingdom, yep. And then they call it, yeah, right at the beginning of the Old Kingdom, right at the very beginning. You see that?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Um, and so here they have here, they've mapped the genome out, radiocarbon dating puts it around, right around there. 95% probability, genome coverage. Reason why I'm getting to this is because what it shows is that this gentleman, uh, even at this time period, does have some Mesopotamian DNA, which at this time um, probably would have been what they're saying. He would have come out of that Sumer civilization, right, or some connection to it, right. Right. So African groups, 20% traced to Mesopotamia region, 1,000 miles to the northeast. This area was home to the civilization of Sumer at the time. Here's the actual photograph, right, of what they found. So this is how he would have been buried inside the actual pot, right? So I'm going to get to something right here. And it says, according to Isaac Lazardius, a research associate in the Department of Human Evolutionary Biology at Harvard University, Lazaridis was now involved, who was not involved with the study, but has done research on ancient DNA samples from Mesopotamia and the Levant, the Eastern Mediterranean area that includes modern-day Syria, Lebanon, Israel, the Palestinian territories, Jordan, and parts of Turkey. Researchers have long questioned whether or not the Egyptians from the beginnings of the dynastic civilization were indigenous North Africans or Levantine, right? Lazardi said. What this sample does tell us is that at such an early date, there were people in Egypt that were mostly North African in their ancestry, but with some contribution of ancestry from Mesopotamia. Lasaria said, this makes perfect sense geographically. I have a CNN link
So
in the
how
article.
you? Okay, go ahead. My fault.
So yeah, it's okay. So here, this is what they do, right? So then they give us
Mhm.
this facial reconstruction,
Mhm.
right, of what we've seen in this of this right here.
Mhm.
They use this skull, and so they give us this facial reconstruction, right? Um, and it was made using a 3D scan of the Egyptian man's skull, right? And they call him an Egyptian because this is where they found him. Uh, his DNA mostly matched. They say most North African DNA. So Egyptian, is where they found him. But he does
Mhm.
have some Mesopotamian ancestry, right? About
Mhm.
20%. That's not a small percentage. If you're talking about ancestry, 20% is a lot. Um, and so here they sort of have him here. You see the the phenotypes that are going on here. But let's go down here a little bit further, right? Let me see this here. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I
You
don't want
great try. Good.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do
Whatever you doing.
that. I don't want to do that. Let me go right here. Let me go
Easy.
right.
Look at him, Chuck. Well, go ahead. You building? Go ahead.
But yeah, but so right here,
Mhm.
what we start to see versus what we've always, I think, what our brother Chuck Morgan has already stated, that a lot of imagery that we see
Mhm.
when people try to attach images to the ancient Sumerians are not actually the ancient Sumerian people, right? Especially as I talked to Chuck Morgan earlier, during this time period from 3000 to 24,000 BCE. This is the time frame that I'm really digging into, where we see Sumerian artifacts that date to around 2400 BCE. So now, when you start talking about, as Brother Chuck Morgan was talking about before, when they call themselves the black-headed ones, when they a lot of times, and Chuck can tell me if they still are going with this, that is either means was either speaking about more of humanity as a whole, or them as a people, not necessarily phenotype, or was it specifically talking about, at times, as some people talk about, it was talking about their hair, right?
Yeah.
Their hair.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and we can see that the Sumerians at that time, they did have hair, right? So a lot of times we get these images of different people right? Right. This is all the images that they see, right? There's no hair here, and
Mm-hmm.
even sometimes we see like there's literally like bald, those ball like images, right? I'm just going through this real quick, man, for the sake of time.
Mhm.
We get to these images. Yeah, you see like this one right here, right? You see this guy right here. So people say, see, that's what they look like. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they didn't they couldn't have been a black people, or they look at this processional here and they
Mm-hmm.
say, look, and they look upon these images and they see, well, to them, people who are not studied, they look like Europeans, right? Or they look like white people to them, right? For the sake of lack of a better term. And I'm trying to tell people that that's not the true representation of ancient Sumerian people, right? Based on what they're looking at and trying to make these determinations about what race they were and were not, right? So even in this image down here, we know this is probably not, if I'm looking at the artwork and how this processional is, this is probably not even Sumerian. This is probably an Akkadian still or
No,
depiction.
I would say that that is Sumerian
This one
because
here,
yeah, if you look
okay.
close, if I'm familiar with history with Psi,
Uh-huh.
um, in a number of artifacts that you find up and down, if you go up to places say like Kish,
Hmm.
they have a very similar. 'Cause this looks more like a person from Susa, or
Yes,
I don't even
this
want to say
gentleman.
necessarily because the term Sagiga
Hmm.
was literally used to encompass humanity as a whole.
Hmm. Okay.
At times, in specific texts, they'll make it the reference to themselves as like when a king, because say uh, a king like Shulgi
Hmm.
would identify himself as being the shepherd of Sagiga,
Yeah, the Shepherd
because
King.
you got to
Mhm.
understand the Sumerians as a people to the kings, because you had how their culture was based according to how the language explains to us,
Mhm.
how they were successors to the gods, the
Mhm.
kings.
Mhm.
So from the gods that or the Anuna down to say a king, they are in that position as those intercessors between
Mhm.
they and humanity. So the way that the various creation epics have it, the Sagiga were a special people who were put aside and were like a personal, um, special people aside from other groups,
Mhm.
and they were the ones who were to do the work to keep the civilization or to have civilization thrive.
Mhm.
As a
Mhm.
matter of fact, I'm gonna share my screen if I can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. All right, so let me pull up this one.
So real quick, Chuck,
Yeah.
just for you, Yara. So you went from Egyptian study to kind of prove that what that people was moving
Well,
back and forth.
um.
Yara, I'm talking about Yara.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That we know, because the study goes on into saying that he probably was a pottery maker,
Yep.
because when they got through
Mhm.
examining, the more or less
Yeah, because it's
arthritis or
hot.
arthritic
It's
type,
back.
yeah,
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 sitting down all the
different
time.
stuff like that, sitting down all the time, extending
Mhm.
things in front of him, holding
Mhm.
heavy things in front of him. So he probably was a pottery maker. His hands, his fingers, the fractures and different things like that.
Mhm.
Um, but that somehow the way that he was buried was not a typical Egyptian burial style, right?
I ain't
He
hear
was
that one. You
well,
slipped
Yeah,
that one.
yeah,
well. I got to
yeah.
show you that. I got to show you that.
All right.
It's
But
Oh,
no, that's not the point. But
let me,
go ahead, dude.
okay, I'll stop there. No, see, I have no problem with
hmm
I don't have any objections with discussing how Tristan Samuels' work
hmm
within the context of Greek literature or ancient Egypt. Um,
hmm
my position is it's just like how the articles from Herodotus, and through that lens of the racial critical race theory, We have no problem with the fact that as time progressed, individuals that have been mixtures from other groups. And because that study is not a study that has taken multiple skeletal remains of Sumerians,
Right.
because that's where the problem came in archaeology, is that there were no Sumerians skeletal remains that were usable to determine any genetic findings. They were never able to extract any DNA.
Right.
All the top archaeologists and geneticists on this points to that fact, because of the dry climate at that time, when the soil erosion, the silt, and a number of other environmental issues made it impossible to be able to utilize Sumerian skeletal remains for any genetic study. In fact, there was a study that happened in 1926. It was called the Kish. I can't forget what it's called right now, but I have it on my computer. We did a show on it, and what the individual did was he had pointed out how they weren't able to use the skeletal remains. So what they did was they used some of the military men that were there, as well as some of the other people who were working as servants, and based on craniometry, we're measuring these various individuals, and they came up with a scenario and said that these will possibly have been what the people of Kish look like, or how, based on the skull, the dimensions of the skulls, determine the possibility of how their race was. Again, this is going back during that period when craniometry was science to them, and they used that in determining the racial factor. The closer you were to Apollo Belvedere,
Yeah.
like you in the Vatican, that's the closest that you had to a Caucasian.
Yeah.
And so, based on those individuals, they have a whole study of it in the Kish. I pull it up. Let me pull that up, because I got so many PowerPoints on these things.
I'll put it up for you. Hey, yeah, but that Neurok study was just on one individual though. I understand he didn't hit his button and killed himself. How did he do that? Damn, man. Wait to Chuck to come back, he hit the wrong button.
Okay.
You get that study was done on the individual though.
Yeah, it was done on an individual, and like I said, it's because the question is pretty much they were wondering why he was even entombed or interned that way, right? Because normally people who were working in that aspect would not have been, right. They wouldn't have even given him that type of burial, but it was not culturally synced, with people of ancient Kemet at the time. So they looked at it as in respect to an outside culture other than what ancient Kemet would have been. So, but yeah, Chuck's back.
That individual?
Yes.
Now that individual, that type of individual been coming in and out of North Africa, yo, for at least 60,000 years.
But he wasn't getting a special burial place like they gave him.
No,
That's
I'm
the
saying
only reason why they have him
years.
there. So there has to be something about him specifically that
No, that
allows
wasn't
them
my
to
point.
bury him in that
That's
way.
not my point. Where's your presentation at?
And that was one of the points I was making.
But you hit the wrong button and disappeared, yo. You must have went.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you disappeared.
I'm back.
Hit that wrong. Don't hit that button again.
Hey,
Let
I'm back.
me show you presentation. Let me read these. Get to these super chats, man. It's important, man.
Okay, you want me to pull it up now?
Yeah, pull it up. I'm gonna read the super chats. Richard says he's on amount of letters. The amount of letters mentioned intermarriage between Nile populations and Iraq populations. All right, duly noted. Appreciate the super chat. Richard James again says, if Africans populated the entire world, when did Iraq and Iran populations stop being African? Anybody want to tackle that question? I know I got an answer, but I'll give y'all a chance at it.
I mean, I don't recall anywhere where, I mean, see these Nawapian affiliated people have a tendency to try to hijack the part to try to lead into something else. So the bottom line is that the African population entirely empire. If that be the case, then white people are Africans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it's you got to deal with what these people are themselves. Now, if we want to go through genetic studies, everybody has some African or black in them. But as you know, Unc, with the whole science thing and talking about how populations diverge, change over time, features, et cetera, what does a typical Caucasian person that we find today, and all people were at one time African, what does that make them?
It still makes them fundamentally African.
Huh?
Fundamentally.
Still makes them fundamentally African.
We just say the whole population is fundamentally African, but to directly answer his question, simply put, when Homo sapiens migrate out of Africa and mutations occur, they're considered the non-African population. So the Eurasian population split to a Western and Eastern Asian population. So the Eurasian population gave rise to the non-African population, right? But non-African does not mean that they're not African. It's just talking about where the genetic material mutated at. All right, let's move on to the next question. The next question was, did the amount of letters, and we appreciate these super. It said, according to Philip Hitti, the Akkadians was a part of a language stratum belonging to an Ethiopian in Sebek. Is that what it is? Sebek. Sebiak. Anybody want to tackle that?
Yeah, I've read Philip Hitti, and when he talks about Akkadian, this is part of the This is part of the premise that I've had, and I think Chuck would agree with me that the Akkadians are not the ancient Sumerians. They're not those people, but they're an acculturation. Their culture, their civilization is an acculturation of ancient Sumer, and they've taken on semblance of the cuneiform, semblance of their liturgy, even their style of dress and everything like that.
As well as the people of Mari, because the Mari were in the high northern part of Mesopotamia, and you'll find how the Mari people literally mirrored the style, dress, language of the people in southern Mesopotamia. In fact, when we see images of the people of Mari, we instantly identify them as being Sumerian, but any person who studies this says, yo, these are Semitic peoples,
right?
Period. But because they were part of the Mesopotamian family, those various city-states, they kept that cultural line linked in. And therefore, when we see them, we automatically assume. But that's why each one of those city-states had different kings, and they had different systems of how they operated, but they still maintained a certain level of continuity of how the people operated in that region. So when others came in, of course, they warred with each other, but also they warred against those outside invaders like the Amarno, the Elam, and of course, Guti.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. It said the word Sumer was used during the Amarno period. That's 1400 BCE. From Mesopotamia. It said, I believe the Sumerians were an amalgamation of Asiatics from the Caspian Sea and Hindu and Negroid population. Well, he everywhere. Anybody want to tackle that?
I don't.
At that time period, 1400 BCE.
That's way after the Sumerians.
That's way after Sumerians. Way after Sumerians. So I mean, he could possibly be right about that, but when it comes, I know the whole Hindu argument, and I stay away from that. Right? I stay away from that. Stay away from the Hindus Valley connection. They claim to be Sumerians. You have even people saying that they're Australoid. You have descendants of the Sumerians possibly over in areas of Australia, as well as America. So
and you got to understand, because Sumer, once they were able to identify and deal with the language system and how it worked, people of all groups wanted to they claim to the Sumerians, because to say that or this was the beginning of a writing system that we know of as far as their system of writing in that part of the world, others wanted to have a part of that. So that nationalistic system started to take a hold in a lot of the philosophies we see today, in a lot of videos and a lot of documentaries. So like the people of Turk, whenever I'm in different groups and we're talking about Sumerians, and a Turk will pop up, our language says this, and our people, we go all the way back. As the same, then you say people are Finnish, people of other European Armenians claim that they are Sumerians. You know, you got people, you have ancient peoples all over. Romanians, because they have an agglutinated language, say that they are descendant of the Sumerians, because everybody wants to lay claim to, at least the way that we're understanding, that the first language identified the first civilization, the wisest people before, and we are them. Everybody wants to lay claim to them. But that's not what the archaeology and the system as we know of today does not show. And so if I can, Brother Yarah,
Absolutely.
Because I think when we talked off air.
Oh, we ain't finished super chats. We gotta finish super chats now.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Do your thing.
All right, King Tut had Mesopotamian DNA, R1B1A. I don't know how he's classifying that as Mesopotamian DNA, but he was still Negroid. We can I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's using Semitic DNA from specific haplogroups. He's saying Mesopotamia. I get that.
I don't even know
He's
how
saying
do you
Semitic. But this is why I laugh at Sinetta, because when Sinetta did his DNA and he started talking about he was related to Ramses the second or third, he started realizing he was connected. They were Semitic in origin. He stopped that. They had some traces of Semitic DNA. He left that alone.
And you gotta. I mean, because Brother Yarah, man, I mean, because I have so many PowerPoint presentations that I don't put up, because if I have time at work, I work at a resort, so I have a lot of time to do things overnight, and I'll do these. I'll watch some shows like Sonetta or some other show, and then I'll see someone put up a talking point, and then I'll go and do my own research onto it, and then I put a PowerPoint presentation together just in case it pops up later.
Yeah.
So when you brought up the thing about I don't want to get into the Hindu or Dravidian connection to this. That is a valued part, because because we know that Harappan civilization, the trade that was well documented with the Akkadians and the people of Malucha, which the consensus has them as being that part of the Indus Valley. And we and they even have a Akkadian inscription where they have an interpreter who's speaking the Malucha language, and you see two individuals bringing tribute to the Akkadian king. Yes, we have it. It's dark, and I'll pull it up if we have to. But we have all of this stuff. But what I my point in all that is that we had talked off air, and I had wanted to indicate or I wanted to point out certain things that because when I started up the PowerPoint, I had mentioned that one of the oldest questions in the Assyriology is, or wasn't when the Sumerians lived, but where did they come from? And for more than a century, scholars have proposed that they migrated from Iran, Central Asia, Anatolia, Caucasus, India, and even in Africa. Yet, none of these proposed homelands has gained general scholarly acceptance, because no hypothesis has produced conclusive archaeological, linguistic, or textual evidence demonstrating a foreign origin. So modern Assyriology approaches the questions differently. Rather than beginning with the speculative migration theory, archaeologists begin with the archaeological record itself. Excavations at sites like Eridu, Uruk, Tel Ubaid, they reveal the long sequence of cultural development extending from the Ubaid period through
Yes.
the Uruk period into the dynastic periods.
Mhm.
So the evidence documents the gradual changes in settlement, immigration, or irrigation, architecture, pottery, all these other things. In a book called and I recommend it because I got it from Garfield years ago, and it's been a valuable book. It's a big book. You can find a PDF online. It's called The Art of the First Cities. And it talks about, of course, the Sumerians, Akkadians, Guti, Indus Valley. But what it had pointed out was that the inhabitants of Sumer had probably inhabited the region long before the advent of cities, and that there's little evidence to support either a major break in continuity of development or a great migration from areas to the north or east. And it doesn't prove that the individuals or small groups migrated into southern Mesopotamia. Movement of people was always occurring, but it does mean that the archaeological evidence favors long-term local continuity over population, over the idea of a population replacement.
Mhm.
So what I was saying earlier was that Professor Paul Collins, who was a former curator of the Ashmolean Museum, he made a similar conclusion, because I watched his documentary. You can pull it up. He explains that the 19th century and the 18th century picture of the Sumerians as a distinct invading race was a product of the racial anthropology of that time.
Agreed.
All right. So the linguistic evidence is cautious in 2026 that the Sumerian, because the Sumerian language remains a language isolated and having no universally accepted relationship to any known language family, it didn't stop people from making multiple comparisons and propose this group and that group, and this is cognitive with this. But as it stands today, there is Sumerian Imigir is still classified as a language isolate. Those individuals who make certain proposes and try to say, well, it's linked to that, there are more than enough peer-reviewed journals where they could enter their findings to be critiqued, challenged, or if it's not already something that's out there they may not be aware of, have it peer-reviewed, have it challenged. And then, we can have something to work with. But as it stands, all those fringe theories that is coming from Dravidian, is coming from Bantu, is coming from Uric, Altaic, is coming from Armenian. None of that stuff pans out, and they just haven't put they haven't put in the work. They'll do it online. They'll put it in academia.edu, but they won't put it in the journals where the heavy hitters are, if you will.
Yeah, they try to slide it. So let me get these last two super chats.
Go ahead.
R1B1A V88 Hollow Group is found amongst Sudanese, Nigerian populations, yet they still are Negroid. Maybe this guy don't understand. I don't really understand what DNA is. Herodotus and Osiris, the Kushites brought farming techniques to Iraq. Yeah, he's saying anything. I believe this is a narrative illustrates African farming population in Iraq. Oh man, he's stretching it, but I don't feel like getting into it. This ain't the show. Nuwapian affiliated. That's interesting rebuttal at Chuck Morgan. He said he ain't no damn Nuwapian affiliated.
I know who these people are, man.
He said
That's part of that troll army.
Trollomatic. All right, so we didn't move from. First of all, man, let's make sure y'all like and subscribe, pick up the videos, man. Make sure y'all hit the daggone super chat. And make sure y'all support the show, man. Make sure y'all hit this daggone Cash App, man, right here. I'm putting it in for y'all, man. Hit the Cash App, man. Support the conversation. Yo, we had one of these nice high-level conversations. Good to have these type of conversations.
Hey, I love it, man. And brother, Yarah,
yes, sir.
I want to stay in touch with you because there's so many things I would like to share with you, and then and invite you to some of our forums, because we have Assyriologists, a lot of PhD candidates that are there, Sumerian language teachers, and I think that you might benefit because I love your approach, the questioning that you have, and it will be something good if you don't mind being around white people.
Oh man. Wait a minute. Let me just finish the advertising real quick. Hold on, Chuck. Let me finish. So I just want everybody to make sure they like and subscribe, pick up the videos, man. You can follow Chuck Morgan at what's the name of the website, Chuck Morgan?
Nuwapianism.com. That's I try not to cross-pollinate Nuwapianism with this particular channel, because this channel I try to keep it more on my Mesopotamian studies, but my other YouTube channel, Chuck Morgan, deals exclusively with the whole Dr. York thing, and of course you can go to my website, Nuwapianism.
All right, how about you, Yarah? How can they catch you?
Oh, you can reach me at Yarah Black Saga Clan. Black SAGA, Black Saga Clan, Yarah Black Saga Clan on YouTube, or you can reach me at New Torah Movement, and you'll see me there. You can reach me through there, as well as through here. So yeah, man, reach out. Hey, I have one. Actually, I have a few research papers out there. I'm gonna put out there. I said I'm gonna come out here and put it out there, man. Some research papers out here, man, for you guys can read. So a lot of the Bible folks don't like me right now, but it's all good. It is what it is.
I thought you was a Bible.
Apparently I'm not. This means, hey, I'm just wearing this for looks, man. You know what I'm saying? Apparently I'm not anymore. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good.
Hey, man.
So let me ask y'all this real quick. Y'all want to listen? People come up and ask you questions because we got about a half an hour left, man. That's the big drop them out, man.
Yeah, I'm good. I appreciate you, brother Chuck Morgan, taking time out. Man,
absolutely, man.
Today, man. And
yeah.
It's an honor to accept your invitation. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
It's hard, but I'll make time for you because, like I said, I've been following you for years. I respect you. I agree with a lot of things that you present. You're sharp, man. And if I can, I would like to invite you to some of these forums because they are definitely something that's in your area that you might find intriguing. Take in take in whatever and spit out the bones or something like that.
Yeah, man. Hey, like I said, man, I'm here to learn, man. I appreciate the bill.
Hey, yeah, you know what's funny?
What's up, man?
I see it. Hey, Chuck, I don't know if you're trying to say they was black. He kind of left that. He went to Asiatic, kind of eased off that a little bit. I mean, look, man. Well, I tell you. All right, man. We got Francis. We got Francis, man. First question, man. What question you got for the panel, Francis? And I heard you the other day. I ain't gonna mess this show. I get you though. But go ahead, sir.
Man, say you're gonna get me. Yes, that's all right.
Definitely gonna get you. But go ahead.
My question to Chuck Morgan is when you gonna beat the brakes off Harwin? That's what I want to know. I
mean, whenever the brother has time and he, decides that he wants to do it, and my schedule, his schedule doesn't conflict, we'll get it in. All the other, back and forth antagonism, all that stuff is good to build up to the moment. But when things actually get down to it, we will definitely chop it up. I think the audience will benefit from it.
Yeah, and Brother Yarah.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, my brother?
What's good, Francis?
I think it's time we need to have another discussion, boy, because I want you to think I'm running from you. So,
hey, you know, hey man, I'm always open for discussions. Hey, Jose Francis, you can tell him, man, I don't mind. Hey, I'll get on the phone. I'll talk. Hey, listen, we can build. I'm always looking for continuity. I'm always looking for truth and information. And where I agree, where I don't, and where I don't know. Hey, I'll tell you I don't know, and I'll move on until I find out what I could put there.
Yeah, I just did my first debate on Paradigm Shift for the championship with JJ 7000. So when you get a chance, go ahead and watch that. I think I did the best that I could do.
Yeah, all right, I'm gonna check that out too.
Yeah, man, it was
look at that.
Yeah, he came with some AI, and when I pulled out the AI, he got upset. Because I said that's not scholarship. You can't. The man came with a whole AI generated presentation and got mad at me. And everything I brought up was purely academic, and the man got mad at me and said I have no sources. So I don't get that. And he got very mad for me doing that because I exposed them. I said, you can't do that in a debate.
What was the debate about?
The debate was about, was there a retainer sacrifice in ancient Kemet? So what do you guys think?
Oh, man, you know,
what do you guys think?
Stop it, man.
I said no.
Right, because you just refused to admit that ancient Egypt got its kingship from Nubia. Yo, you don't want to accept that. I don't know what's wrong with it. Yeah, I'm confused at this point.
What do you think, Yarah?
I know pre-dynastic Kemet had retainer sacrifices.
How about you, Chuck? Or are you just gonna abstain?
Oh, when it comes to ancient Kemet, I don't really get too much into it. Now there was now granted, when Sir Charles Leonard Woolney did their excavations at Ur, one of the things that they did come out with, well, at least they illustrated, was that there was a mass set of graves which would appear to be mass suicide, along with the kings, horses, and a whole bunch of others. So, and that's the only one incident that we know of thus far that there was, I guess you call it a mass suicide in Sumer, and that was during the where they discovered all those bodies or skeletal remains in.
I believe that coincided with the death of a king, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the same practice in China. You see the same practice everywhere. Yep. They take their whole army or their best fighting infantry with them, right? Because they believe in the afterlife, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so that's why you would see that, but it was not something that was practiced daily, right? That was, that was something that you rarely saw, but you will see that, right?
I challenge him because the language that they use is possible and probable. And they could not account for the deaths of all of these people that they say were taken out ritually. They can't account for all of those deaths. They're just assuming that. And there's no primary textual evidence that talks about any practice of that sort. They bring up one little piece of evidence that's basically Kemetic scribble scrabble and tell you that is somebody getting sacrificed.
Nah, you can't say Kemetic scribble scrabble when you don't.
Yeah, come on.
With the pictographs when they literally showing somebody with their leg getting sawed off, man.
Now you know you don't see that there, Yarah. They don't know.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, man, that was funny.
I'll leave that there, but yeah, you do. Yeah,
you do. Chopping somebody's leg off. That was hilarious.
The man said getting their leg sawed off. He said,
Yeah, man, they was sawing off limbs, man, and then they showed them. They buried them in a little wrap. I'll show you the glyph if you want to see it one day.
They chopped off hands. We know they did that for sure.
Yeah, they didn't just chop off hands. They chopped off hands and phalluses. Y'all right?
They did.
About that, but they did that.
Yes.
Money from
man.
Yes.
So
yes, they did. Yeah. That's a fact. You can't show retainer sacrifice. I'm not.
Yeah, but I'll show you.
I'll
show you. I know
JJ
showed it to you. I know JJ showed it to you. I didn't even see it, but I know JJ showed it to you. I know he did.
JJ came with her AI presentation. That was
garbage can juice. AI presentation. What's wrong with that though?
It was garbage can juice. That's what it was. That stuff that you squeeze out of the back of the garbage truck. That's what that was to me. All that juice from the bags of garbage. That's what it was.
I ain't gonna argue with you. I'm gonna let you think that. And still I want you to say that kingship come from Nubia. See? But that's our evidence to prove that though. Let me get
Kush. I don't have a problem with that.
Kush. I do. That is
the Kushites. Yes. The Kushites were their bigger brothers. I don't have a problem with that. That's a fact.
Were they bigger brothers? What are you talking about, man? You
the Kushites founded the civilization.
No, man.
They were not different people.
Come on, man. You gotta stop that, yo.
Well, prove me wrong. You can't prove me wrong.
No, come on, man.
You're not gonna prove me wrong.
No, I'm not gonna argue with you today. Not today. I know
you're not gonna argue because there's no argument to be made other than what I said is true.
All right, man. If you
all of that was a part of Kemet.
You think about it, but the man just showed you the Neurok study, Old Kingdom. He would bust your head with that. You saying that was a Cushite burial right there?
Did you hear me say that? You're not listening.
Yeah,
I never said that.
Are you listening to the program?
I didn't say that.
Was very clear.
You're not listening. Narmer was from the south. You don't read the text, so how are you going to argue? And you said you don't read the text. So how you arguing with me about a text that you say you don't need to read? You can't do that,
Because I'm not
You can't
listening
argue
to
about text that you say you don't read. And you said it yourself.
because I'm moving to the next call. That's what I'm gonna do. What's up? Hold on, let me see if I can
You
get you
see
in.
what I'm saying? You see? Now he mad at me. You see?
I'm not mad at
you.
you.
Now he mad.
I'm not mad at you, yo. Come on, bro.
Right.
I'm just.
I said
not
what I said
arguing.
is what I mean. If you don't read the text, you can't lead you can't lead the
Yeah,
discussion.
and
I'm not backing up off of that.
I'm just saying I never heard a person with expertise make such a statement. I've never heard that before. That's new. That's YouTube. So I don't have to be an expert in reading the text. It's definitely
That's not what I
helpful.
said.
It's
I
an
didn't say
advantage.
expert, brother. Don't
So
misquote what I said.
No, when I didn't cut you off. I can't take the cutting off thing. I need to be able to have a concise conversation. Everybody, don't back and forth with me no more. I'm just done with that. So I'm simply saying that experts don't say that. You have experts that can read text, experts that don't. They deal with archaeology, and they merge the ideas together, right? It's called interdisciplinary. So an archaeologist can't say, well, if you can't dig in the dirt, then you can't do this. That's not how that works. No one says that, right? It makes no sense. It's incoherent to say that if you can't read the text, then that you can't bring an archaeological survey, or you can't do this and you can't do that. That's a wild statement, right? What's up, King J? How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Peace to the panel.
Good.
Three of my favorite brothers. You know what I'm saying? On the same panel at the same time. So figure I couldn't go wrong with it. You know what I mean?
What's up, King J?
What up, Chuck?
I'm in.
You already know. Really no questions. I'm really just more of supporting y'all on the panel. I did have so in regards to, and we kind of caught it in the chat. Yarah, when we talked about the black kids, right? Now, Chuck, I do think in regards to when you spoke about Kish and how a lot of times the blackologists like to make the comparison with Kush and Kish and how that's a false cognate. Could you go more and a little bit more into that just to clear that up as far as you know who those that Kish and distinguish between the Kush and Kish?
Okay. Yeah, and that was another one of those shows that I did on the Dagger Squad. That particular one, and here's the thing, and I don't want to sound smug or anything. That was one that I shared with some people in a good position. One of them, two of my teachers, Joshua Bowen, Gabriel Barra. I did this on my own, and because Joshua Bowen's his not his thesis, what do you call it? His dang, I forgot what he called it. His dissertation was on ancient Kish, and what I had put together was something that he was unfamiliar with, or he just didn't put that part together. So, I mean, even an amateur can contribute to through the bigger school of Assyriology. That's what I think, and I'm like, wow, you ain't never heard of that. But anyway, let me pull this up. So, where we at? I'm gonna pull this up. This was part of that presentation. I'm trying to get this thing put into book form. Okay. Where is it at? Oh, I see it. Okay. As far as here we go. Okay. Now let's investigate. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So Kish, right? Kish, we know, is a location in northern Mesopotamia. We know Kush, as we have through African studies, is a place that is well established in ancient Africa, and they migrated, did a number of things all over the region. Now, what I have been able to uncover is that we don't find evidence of a Kushite presence in Mesopotamia, not anything significant enough that they were even mentioned. However, we do have terms in Sumerian for Kush, but not the Kush that you think of, that we would think of in African studies. So let's look at it. So here we have with this one, Kish, as being a toponym or a place name, is referring to the city in northern Sumer. It shouldn't be confused with the separate lexical item kish, which can denote totality in certain contexts. They have a shared spelling. It doesn't establish an etymology or historical connection to the biblical Cush or North Africans. You can find this in the openly rich annotated cuneiform corpus, ORAC. In that entry and the list, it'll give you a whole breakdown of it and how it is. Now, of course, with the determinative key that you find here, it lets you know that it is talking about a place or a place name. So I just wanted to put that in that. Okay. All right. So the next one I had, and this is how it came up to it, was we have Cush, which is used before the names of leather items. You'll find it in animal hide. You'll find it in numerous inscriptions. Now, this one that I had pointed out was that my focus was being used that you'll find Cush in conjunction with Gigi, which is the Sumerian word for black. So you have Cush Gigi, black skin. Now, someone will take that and say, oh, see, Chuck, there you go. They literally tell you that in Sumerian studies. No. The word for skin here, Cush, is used as a determinative, a classifier for skin. Now, you have this Cush Gigi, which is used for animals, but not people. It's not mentioning Cushites. All right. And then, but this particular inscription of the ASJ09, this in particular inscription is talking about animal hide. And you can find this in the digital corpus of cuneiform lexical text. Now, that particular one, well, let me get to it right here. Okay. And finally, we have, let me make this point clear. That Cush Gigi, that's found in the Babylonian inscription. It's not found in the Sumerian inscription. But not at all, no. But what we do have is, and you can find this in the Oric, you'll see in the entry for Cush, you'll find it, look at it, gazelle skin, skin of young gazelle, mountain goat skin, fallow deer skin, stag skin, bison skin, wild sheep skin, chameleon skin, etc., etc., etc. Because this right here, this determinative lets you know that what comes out is like Cush lulim, right? Stag skin, and on forth. Now, when we got down to Cush Gigi for black leather, you have Cush Su'a, which is red leather, and you have and like I said, I'm even violating a rule because I'm announcing Cush, but it's a determinative, which is not mentioned. But if you read the inscription, you'll see Cush there. If you read the transliteration, and you'll know that, oh, this is talking about skin, because they have hundreds of these inscriptions which are talking about livestock. You see, so to your point, King J, I did this, and I was just illustrating how they use Cush to identify animal product, animal skin. Go ahead. I recommend anybody get the most up to date, Sumerian grammar book right now. It's by what was his name? Cohen, last name Cohen, and he on page 10 of his book, you have Cush as being skin, hide, leather, and on and so forth.
So those are just basically outdated arguments. Like, for instance, when they say Sargon of Kish, we're not saying Sargon of Cush, the African Kush. We're literally talking about the Semitic city-state in Sumer.
No, not at all, not at all. And that's and that's something that, like I said, if there's it's so simple that I wouldn't even say it's something to necessarily debate. It's just it's
over with. Yeah, it's just like, why are you making those silly arguments anymore?
Yeah, just check the sources. But again, this is what I was mentioning to Brother Yarah earlier. A lot of these ideas you'll find in the various web pages, like Clyde Winters' web page. He had made a big issue about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that's worth noting.
I'm familiar with Clyde.
Say again?
I say yes, I'm familiar with Clyde.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't necessarily know what his angle is, but I've been reading. I came across him so many years ago, and I've been trying to catch up with him every time. I saw him in a couple of groups, and we would get to short this, on Facebook, but he blocked me for whatever reason. I don't know. But it's all good.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sound like I'm heavy or nothing like that, but I guess I was persistent because I have my stuff, I have my evidence, and I share it, and
All right, let's get to the next question. What's up, Catalini? What's up, man? Got a question for the panel, brother?
Oh, what's good? What's good with it, y'all? What's
up?
good with it, y'all? Peace to the panel. I like the conversation y'all had about the the connection with the Indus Valley. How people overwhoop it sometimes. You know what I'm saying? We know there was couldn't know it was contemporary cultures. They had ongoing trade. You know what I'm saying? Especially in that mood. I like the brother mentioned Melua. You know what I'm saying? I was just reading about that the other day. And even like, it depends on what layers of the history that we're talking about with the connection. We know that like Dravidian and Tamil ancestry, you know what I'm saying, have this Iranian form of ancestry come from like west of the Zagros, you know what I'm saying, was brought in the Neolithic culture to the Indus Valley. Because we had the Veda hunter-gatherers there first. And then these, these Neolithic farmers are coming in, from the Mesopotamian region, but not saying that they are Sumerian themselves. He's just cultures that have, common ancestry, common cultures coming out of those regions. I think that was deep that, he mentioned it. I was just reading on that. That's dope.
Yeah, that's powerful because you couldn't even find it. Oh my God, bro, let me tell you something. And because I did a show with Smash Rockwell on this topic, and what was interesting that people didn't even realize that we identify Malucha with the people of the Indus Valley, but also the Sumerians, they built up whole villages where Maluchans lived. I mean, they're. If you get, you can get a book called by Simo Parpola and his brother Arya Parpola. What was that book called? If you pull up a book called Maluha Village: Evidence of Acculturation of Harappan Traders in Late Third Millennium Mesopotamia, on page 146 and 147, it talks about it. It shows you how this village was set up. It gives the names and how to say. So rendering like the inhabitants of Maluha or simply Maluchan appears also possible. In that case, the designation would not, of course, refer to the country of Maluha, but to the village just discussed. Ever to correct the interpretation, the use of Maluha as a personal name or as a civic identifier implies that the person thus designated was in some way, by skin color, lineage, tongue, or religion, associable with the people of the country of Maluha. And the fact that a man with a Sumerian name could give us or give his son the name of Maluha. Conversely, that a man in Maluha could have a son with a Sumerian name is clear evidence of Sumerization of name bearers. So, but my point in that is you got multiple inscriptions, not to mention artifacts from in this valley, where you'll find them in this period in a place like Nirsu.
Yeah. I read
and going all the way back to Sargon, going all the way back there, you can go to the Museum Journal of the Inscriptions of the Kings of Agade. On the earliest attestation of Malucha can be found in the inscription of Sarkan of Akkad, referring to Maluchan ships that docked at the capital of Agade. And it literally explains the ships of Malucha, the ships of Magan, the ships of Dilman. He collected in the keys in front of Agade. Sarkan, the king of Akkad, and on and on and on. So yeah, it's well documented that Indus Valley civilization, through trade, cohabited at times and may have even intermixed with them at times, but definitely not saying that the people of Dravidian or Tamil, whatever, are Sumerian. No, they make a definite distinction between the two.
Yeah, they might even have the same common ancestor too, for like on a Neolithic level. Even that's way too far back, even way before even was Sumeria, like 10,000 years ago back.
No doubt.
You know, when the wheat and barley, wheat and barley come out of Mesopotamia, they went into Harappian culture, and and they also found a Neolithic culture that they're saying now the Tamil and Dravidian culture come from, called the Maragor culture. You know what I'm saying? Which is go back 70,000 BC to 2,500 BC. And they saying like, the Tamil and Dravidian culture come out of this particular Zagros-ian culture that went into the Indus Valley and intermixed with the Veda culture that was already there. And that's even right before the Indo-Europeans or Indo-Aryans came in. You know what I'm saying? So you had Neolithic culture before the Indo-Aryan cultures or languages came there too. So it's all it's different people, different amalgamations of different people, and then you got the Proto-Elamite culture in between those two cultures too, right there. So there probably are different contemporary cultures that got relations in certain different ways.
So, what do you think about the Ubaid dynasty, about 5,500 BC, in regards to possibly origins of a Sumerian people?
Oh, me?
Excellent. Hey, look. Y'all ask that last question, man. We got 2 minutes left, man. We're gonna get up out of here, man.
In a nutshell, the current consensus in Assyriology today, based on the archaeological evidence, the Sumerians, as we know, didn't come from outside. There's no evidence of a mass migration. It appears that they were indeed the peoples who, or they at least were the outgrowth of Obadian society.
God damn, man. Shit.
Yeah. So that early period, that was them. They just didn't go by that name at the time.
You say Ubadian?
Yeah, Ubadian.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Look, this was a good one, man. I don't know how we got out the daggone debate.
I
don't know how we did it, but my fault. Let me let Wishman come and get the last question. I don't know how y'all figured that one out. Y'all tricked us. That's what I call it, trickology. It
was a good conversation, though.
Uncle making my girl laugh. Man. Funny,
man, I was like, man, I got my popcorn. I'm gonna see Yarah get beat up on this subject, man.
Some kind of way. I don't want no parts of Yarah.
I don't want no parts of Chuck Morgan.
None at all whatsoever. See what I'm saying? Some kind of way the Sumerians are invisible. We don't know who they are.
Good conversation.
Hey, that's a consistency of scholarship. We don't know where they came from, bro.
We don't know where they came from. Yeah, but go ahead, yo. Go ahead. You had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Peace to the panel.
Peace, man.
Y'all having an interesting conversation, y'all two brothers. So I wanted to ask a linguistic question to Chuck Morgan about the dinger and the history of the dinger.
Yeah.
The start. I think it's in your background right there. I think that's it.
Yeah.
The little 8 spokes. Is it 8?
Yeah. Can you talk about how it's phonetically pronounced and how it gets morphed into the Akkadian as in eel?
Okay. I don't know if you were watching earlier. As far as an exact pronunciation of how Dingir is, I can't give you that because we don't know exactly how it was pronounced. But from what we have through inscription, it is a determinative, of course, that lets you know that what follows it is a god. It is also used to represent star constellations, if you find them in a triune cluster. And it's also used as a determinative specifically for one of the high early Mesopotamian deities on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so by this, as you know, because the Akkadians had loan words from Sumerian and vice versa. You can pull up any one of the books on Sumerian loan words or Akkadian loan words. They incorporated it into their writing system as well.
Right.
But that symbol kind of shifted. It doesn't look exactly like it did in Sumerian, but it has more like it's more like a dual set of lines as opposed to a quad.
And Chuck, like you said, that's kind of like in Egyptian, the determinatives aren't pronounced. So in the Akkadian, it would in the Akkadian it would have just acted as a determinative as well, an unspoken determinative to let you know it represents a deity.
Right.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
If it's talking about if you read it's depending on the context. If you're reading the inscription and you'll see it there, because it's not necessarily speaking about a god, because you'll see that the king Shulgi also used it in his name. You know, that we find that to be odd, but that he also used it, and also because if you're talking, when you look at Sumerian astronomy inscriptions, if you look at Mul Apen, the Mul itself is those clusters. It's not pronounced An, it's Mul, and it's just you'll usually see 3 of those same. What is it behind my back? You'll find. I can't see it.
3 in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's depending on the context determines how it's applied in the inscription.
Right. So when the Akkadians adopted it, they use it becomes now that and you say they change it a bit, right? It becomes a Semitic word. When
it's not a word, it's in the script. It's not a word.
It becomes Semitic. That's the point. And the phonetics of the Akkadian version of that from their adaptation is
unspoken.
Il.
That's
it's a determinative. It's a determinative. It's not spoken.
I'm not talking to you, King.
I know, but I'm talking to you though. I'm letting you know the
We out here, man. The end of that, man. We done. I don't know who y'all talking to. Was talking, wasn't talking. Man. Let me get everybody off the stage, man. Because if I can't wild out, nobody else can. I love to wild out. So we not doing this, man. Look, appreciate you, Chuck Morgan, man. Appreciate you, Yarah. It was an interesting conversation, man. I think.
All right. Shout out to you, Chuck Morgan. Yes, sir.
Think we're in a better place, man, after the conversation, man. Yeah, it is what it is, man. We're gonna keep having these type of style conversations too, man. That's what I'm.
But real fast, I want to come on the show again, and I want to address or do this show on the 2 Maluchas.
Okay.
Because you have Malucha during the time of the Sumerians and Akkadians, and then you have a change in the definition in the Neo-Assyrian period.
Yep.
Right.
And that's important. That's where Assyriologist Samuel Kramer had a fallout with another Assyriologist by the name of Gelb, and he put he kind of, I ain't gonna say, I'll put it in House of Consciousness vernacular. He buried Samuel Kramer on that argument. Gave him that work. Yeah, he was never the same. He had, matter of fact, Kramer had to change it. But he said, I'm going to India and I'm going to investigate. And he came back, he kind of altered it.
Wow.
Good thing.
I got the documents. You know, I got the documents.
I bet you do. All I can say is, man, who wants to smoke?
Wants to smoke? Who wants to smoke? Yeah. Temperatures going up, the heat is rising, scholars showing up, audience vibing. We on a mission, competition is the only desire. Whose information will be facing the mercy of fire? So step up, stand up, can you walk through hell? So tough, too tough for the weak, soft shell. Set the fire, fan the flame, smoke is rising in blooms. While the inexperienced today just dust the choke on the fumes. Bring your science, session. Bring your religion. If you can't stand the heat, then please don't come in the HOK. It's just a session. Learn a lesson. Fight and overcome oppression. Who'll be the best debated? By the time all the smoke clears, who wants to smoke? Want the smoke. This environment is the toughest, so bring your best and put your spirit to the test. You stepping into the ring with the scholar, with the no digits harder. I will make you holler in the information flow with power. You wanted to peak, the elite, the undisputed. Now watch as your outdated theories get refuted. I'm posted in the den, let the world burn. Pressure in the room, it's finally my turn. They want the smoke, I'm the whole forest fire. Watch the oxygen vanish as the flames climb higher. My mind is the weapon, I'm no joke. I'm the baddest, I come for the smoke. No joke, I'm the baddest to ever breathe. I don't play house, I make them leave. Smoke session. Smoke, 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 smoke session. I want the smoke. Smoke, smoke, smoke session. Assassinator, you better warn them. Who want the smoke? Who want to say that I'm not playing? Oh my God. Stop playing with me. Now, Paul, you better tell him, you better tell her now, Paul. Stop playing with me.
Man, make sure y'all like and subscribe, man. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button on the House of Consciousness, man. Sonetta TV, man. Make sure you go over there and subscribe to the Community of Skeptics too, man. I appreciate everybody, man, for this great discussion, man. We want to have more powerful smoke conversations like this, man. We just want to make sure we control the environment, man, and make sure y'all get this information, man. Y'all know how we do it, man. I'm your host, Bobby Banger, man. And with that, we out.